Filing with respect to Ms. Stout. Did one of you wish to be heard further on this?
Your Honor, I would ask that we defer this. I finished printing out that material from the CD at 8 o'clock last night. I got 2 emails from Mr. Griffin with some other material at 6 and 8 o'clock last night. I haven't been through it all. It concerns both the time differences and the image latency. I mean, this material concerns both of those things. So I'm just not willing to cross-examine today.
Well, first of all, Judge, in the filing that I gave you, I want to make a correction. I said that Ms. Stout had testified 6 times as a video expert. It's only 4. 2 of those times were on something else. I wanted to make that correction. I ran that line by line by her today, and that was the only correction she had. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that the materials that defense has are publicly available PDFs on a system that they were well aware of all of the specifications. All of those items that they claim will be subject of cross-examination.
But they weren't aware until yesterday, or until the day or so before, that she had relied on, that she had reviewed those, relied on them, and
That's not what she testified to, though, Your Honor. She specifically testified that she relied on 2 of them, one for the DVR,
right.
2 for the DVR, but she sort of worked with 2 that weren't the exact one for the system, and
right.
1 for one of the cameras. But the context for those 2 particular sort of set, one for the machine and one for the cameras, was in a very, very limited fashion. She didn't actually do anything really with them other than check the video, whether the standard setting for the video resolution was
given
right. One thing versus another thing. So it wasn't a substantial, in any way, substantial reliance upon
it seems to me counsel should clearly have the opportunity to read whatever she looked at prior to cross-examination of her, and they didn't have to stay up all last night to do it. So I will defer her testimony. With respect to the DOBIA issue that was raised on the causes of image latency, I will also defer that because I think, as the Commonwealth pointed out, the purpose of yesterday's hearing was not designed as a DOBIA hearing, and there are answers she gave that it isn't clear. For example, she talked about image latency being a known problem, and then went on in her answer to talk about the cause of it. It's not clear from that question or that answer whether both the image latency being a known problem is widely known in the industry and accepted among video experts such as she is, or whether the reason for it is also widely known and accepted in the industry, that obviously if there's general acceptance, that would be a strong indicia. Her answer is simply unclear. She also testified as the basis for the opinion as to cause her own lots of experience. She testified at one point that the newest systems don't have this problem. So if she's in fact had experience with the old systems with a problem and the newer one, and the difference between the new and the old, it's just because certain things weren't explored, it would be unfair to the Commonwealth to make a ruling, particularly when some of her answers would be suggestive of the fact that there is sufficient here for her to express an opinion. She certainly seems to have sufficient general expertise and expertise to be able to say that this is a problem, that this is a widespread problem with these hybrid systems, and that however the state police made copies was perfectly the right way to do it, and they did it the way she teaches, and whatever is the proper way to do it. And in her opinion, there's nothing they did that caused this problem because it's a known problem. The issue really is, can she go one step further and say the cause of the problem is these network issues, and it isn't apparent. I don't feel, based on her testimony, that I could rule one way or the other as to whether she can go that additional step and opine as to the cause, because it's not. It's just because there need to be some follow-up questions. But I think that probably this is an awful lot of other things she can testify to other than the cause, so I don't see any reason we should take the jury's time at this point on that issue, and I will delay her testimony. If she has to be in California on Monday, then it won't be on Monday.
I understand that, Your Honor. And for the record, the issue that the court raises, it characterizes a Dalbert issue. Respectfully, the time for Dalbert issues has passed.
Well, there was nothing in the report that was provided that, and I'm not saying the Commonwealth had an obligation under the rule to provide more than the report, but there was nothing in the report that was provided that detailed the actual basis for her opinion. The actual basis for her opinion, as she stated yesterday, was her personal experience, that there are no scientific studies, that there's been no scientific literature, that none of the groups she's aware of has published anything on the issue, and it was that and two conversations with two manufacturers, two conversations, one each with two manufacturers. A Dalbert issue can even be raised at trial if that's when a party discovers what the basis of the opinion is. To the extent the Commonwealth chose not to ask her to give to write a more detailed report detailing the specific bases for her opinion, the Commonwealth can hardly fault the defendant for not filing a Dalbert issue on the grounds that the basis isn't sufficient to get over Dalbert. The Commonwealth supplied a CV. Someone looking at that CV would think she was eminently qualified, and she appears to be eminently qualified. It does not mean, however, that simply because someone is an eminently qualified expert, everything they have to say passes Dalbert muster. I don't see anything you provided the defendant that gave them notice as to the specifics, as to the specific basis of her opinion, and what was provided was her opinion, and not the, and it wasn't in her report. So you didn't, but I don't think it's the Commonwealth can. I don't think there's any case that indicates that when someone is unaware of the basis comes out at trial, that the defendant, or if it had been a defense expert, the Commonwealth would be precluded from seeking the court to strike it or to have a Dalbert hearing if it comes out before the witness testifies. In fact, I think it's commendable that Dalbert hearings are not requested simply because there's an expert testifying. Otherwise, every time there was an expert, there'd be a Dalbert hearing with no basis. So
If I could just have a moment to
Sure.
consult Mr. McCall about. Thanks, Judge. I just wanted to speak to Mr. McCall about what we want to do in terms of bringing her back to
Sure.
expense. I think, obviously, with the court's ruling, what we'll do is plan on bringing her back, but have a discussion with her this afternoon about her schedule and expense and all of that sort of thing.
thank you. Could I see counsel on a note? Two cameras today. Again, you can't photograph jurors, no electronic recording or transmission of any bench or sidebar conferences, conferences between counsel, conferences between counsel and client, conferences between the court and a clerk or court officer. You can only record or photograph during a proceeding, not during recess and not before or after a proceeding unless the court is hearing motions. If you're not operating one of the two specifically authorized cameras, even if you're a member of the media, you can't use your cell phone camera or other electronic device to take any photographs or to video anything except for attorneys. Any person who's not a registered member of the media cannot have a cell phone camera or other device in this courtroom or indeed in the courthouse. And any attorney who may have a cell phone, tablet, or other electronic device in this courtroom must have it turned off, not just silenced, and cannot be used to photograph, record, or transmit any aspect of these proceedings or for any other purpose as long as you're inside this courtroom. And a reminder to the media to please check that your cell phones are in silent mode.
He. All persons having anything to do before the Honorable, the Justice E. Susan Gosh of the Superior Court, now sitting at Fall River within and for the Commonwealth. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now in session. Be seated, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Friday, February 20th, 2015, and the case on trial is Commonwealth v. Aaron Hernandez, indictment BRCR 2013-0983. The Honorable E. Susan Garsh presiding.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Have any of you seen or heard or read or overheard anything all about this case from Mr. Hernandez since I last inquired? There are no affirmed responses. And have any of you discussed this case or Mr. Hernandez with anyone since I last inquired? There are no affirmed responses. And have any of you had any difficulty at all following my instructions not to talk or in any other fashion communicate about, look at, listen to, or do any research about this case or Mr. Hernandez or anything at all that you think could be relevant to the case? There are no affirmative responses. You may call the next witness.
Thank you. Rocky D'Angelo, please.
Your Honor, counsel. Thank you.
Please face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give to this court and this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Have a seat, sir.
If I may. Thank you. Good morning, sir. Could you please state your name and spell your name for the jurors?
Rocky D'Angelo. It's R-O-C-K-Y. Last name is D'-A-N-G-E-L-O.
And do you work, sir?
For TransCore?
And could you tell us, please, could you spell TransCore for us?
Sure. It's T-R-A-N-S-C-O-R-E.
And what is TransCore?
TransCore is a transportation services company.
And specifically, what location of TransCore do you work at?
Out of the Auburn, Massachusetts, the Easy Pass, Massachusetts Customer Service Center.
And what is the general business of TransCore?
We're in the transportation business, and the area that I'm in is the, excuse me, the maintaining the customer service center for the Easy Pass Massachusetts program.
And that's a particular part of the TransCore business, is that correct?
Yes.
And does TransCore do that, maintaining Easy Pass customer service in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
Yes.
And for what roadways does that cover, please?
The Massachusetts Turnpike Authority, and Massachusetts Turnpike, the Tobin Bridge, and the Callahan Tunnels and Ted William Tunnels.
Now, in addition to performing that function in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, does TransCore do that in other states?
Yes, we do it for the Pennsylvania Turnpike Commission in Pennsylvania and the Delaware Department of Transportation in Delaware.
And how long have you yourself worked for TransCore?
13 years.
And could you describe for the jurors, please, sort of the specifics that are entailed in maintaining that information, the type of functions that TransCore does for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
We maintain it's the Easy Pass Customer Service Center. If anybody has a transponder account, we maintain the accounts. We issue the transponders to them. We collect payments. And the customers, again, use the transponders to go on the toll road, and it's electronic toll collection.
And how does the transponder that's used in the vehicle communicate with the TransCore system that keeps track of all that, please?
When you go through a Easy Pass lane, the transponder is red, and you would have if you have a transponder, you have an account, and the toll is electronically collected and applied to the account. If for a reason the transponder did not read, or you didn't have a transponder in your vehicle, part of the system is a violation enforcement system, which takes a picture of the license plate of the vehicle, and then that license plate is processed.
And the equipment that takes the photographs of the vehicle, is that TransCore equipment?
Yes, we maintain that equipment.
And that's installed at the Easy Pass lanes, is that correct?
Correct.
And could you describe that equipment, please, for the jurors?
The equipment, on the violation enforcement side, there's a light fixture and a camera that would take still pictures of a vehicle going through the lane. And then there's like an antenna that would read the transponder. And there's in the roadway, there's a treadle to count the axles for the vehicles that are going over. And there's parts of the system that detect the vehicles when there's vehicle separation, so when a vehicle goes through it.
And that camera, does that, you said equipped with a light, is that correct?
Yes.
And does that take a photograph of every vehicle that passes through the lane?
Yes.
And in regards to then separating it out between people who have their transponders that actually communicate with the system and people who don't, or who have transponders that don't, does TransCore do something with those photographs?
Yes. If when you go through the lane, like I said, a picture of every vehicle is taken, and it's considered paid. If you have a transponder and your transaction is paid, then that image is discarded. If you go through the lane and your transaction is not paid, that image is maintained and it's tied to the transaction.
And specifically, does TransCore keep track of the exact time that vehicle passes through and maintain that along with people whose vehicles don't have a transponder or whose transponders don't communicate?
Yes.
Could you describe that, please?
The image is captured in the lane and it's tied to the transaction. Then that image gets processed. It goes to image review process where that license plate is identified. If that license plate belongs to an account that's in the EasyPass system and the account is valid, that transaction is posted immediately. If for some reason that license plate that was not associated with an account, or the account was insufficient, there wasn't money in the account, then a violation is created.
And are you familiar with a company called Highway Toll Administration, LLC?
Yes.
And what is Highway Toll Administration, LLC, please?
They're a services company for the rental car industry. They process all their toll activity. For the rental car company's vehicles, they're like a third party for the rental car company, and they process there's a toll services business.
Now, specifically in regards to TransCore, what are your exact duties and responsibilities?
I'm the service center manager. I oversee the whole operation of the customer service center, and also the keeper of the records of the electronic toll collection.
And as a result of that, are you familiar with the TransCore, how they keep track of each and every toll plaza that you provide services for in the Commonwealth?
Yes.
And how is that, please?
Each plaza is identified by a plaza number and a name. So any transaction that would go through a certain plaza is identified by that plaza number.
And are you familiar with the plaza number designation for the toll booths on the Massachusetts Turnpike at Route 95, 128, heading westbound on the Massachusetts Toll Pike?
Yes, that'd be
Turnpike.
Plaza 55.
That's Plaza 55. If I may approach you. I'm just going to show you some photos. Do you recognize what's depicted in those photos, please?
Yes, this is Plaza 55.
And that's heading westbound on the Massachusetts Turnpike at the interchange of 195, 120, or 95, 120. Is that
Correct.
And do these photographs fairly and accurately portray the area of that particular toll plaza 55?
Yes.
No objection, Your Honor. If I may, Your Honor. Just going to show you now what's been marked as 161A. Could you describe to the jurors, please, what's depicted there.
That's,
There's a monitor right there on your left as well.
is even closer.
Yes.
That is Plaza 55, the Route 128, I-95 Plaza interchange.
And heading westbound, are the toll lanes assigned a number?
Yes,
And those numbers that they're assigned, they begin on the right-hand side in this photograph, is that correct?
correct.
And they're all odd numbers, is that true?
Right, 1, 3, 5, correct.
So lane 1 is the far right lane, is that correct?
Correct,
And then lane 3 is the second from the right, is that true?
correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked Exhibit 161B. Do you recognize that?
Yes, that's the violation enforcement, the equipment, it's a light and a camera.
And that's the light and camera setup that you were discussing, is that true?
Correct,
That's a closer up of it in 161C, is that correct?
correct.
Now, when the vehicle passes through a lane, how is the time set with the photograph?
The system time is set through the U.S. Naval Observatory Services Network.
And when a vehicle passes through and the photograph is taken and there is no transponder activity, where does the record of the time of that event and the photograph of that event go, please?
The system captures the picture of the image and the transaction date and time, plaza and lane, and that's captured within the system, and then that's reported back to the office where we would process it.
And on what sort of, are these things processed every day?
Yes,
And did Transcor receive notice of a violation at Toll Plaza number 55 in the early morning of June 17th of 2013?
yes, we would have got that image to review on June 18th.
And was that review done?
Yes,
And have you had an opportunity to review the records of that particular review?
yes.
I'm going to show you show you this record. Do you recognize that record?
Yes.
What is that a record of?
It's a record of a page of transactions for the Highway Toll Administration.
And this particular record, do you recognize this record?
Yes,
And Was this record created in the normal course of the business of transport,
Yes,
which performance you perform on behalf of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, is that correct?
correct, for the Department of Transportation.
And you rely on that record
Yes,
in the course of your business, is that correct?
yes,
And do you maintain this record in good faith?
yes,
And could you tell us when this record was created, please?
yes,
The original record.
right.
Does that detail all?
This is one page of the transaction activity for the Highway Code Administration, and the record,
Does it indicate what date all of these items were posted to your
yeah,
record?
it indicates the date and time of the transaction, the date and time it was posted to the account.
And so with respect to this entire page, when was all of the information on this page posted to your records?
June 18th.
Now, do you recognize in particular a notice of violation in the early morning hours of June 17th of 2013 at Toll Plaza number 55 depicted on this record?
Yes,
Okay? And could you tell us at what time that toll violation occurred? Plaza 55, please.
let's try to find it here. Oh. Okay, it occurred on June 17th, 2013 at 2:53:46.
And 46 is 46 seconds, is that correct?
It's tenth of a second, hundredth of a second.
Well, this is the next exhibit, please. No objection.
It matches the next exhibit.
Now, looking at exhibit number 162, where you just indicated at Plaza 55, Weston 128, I-95, correct?
Right,
2:53:46, that's AM, is that
AM,
correct?
yes.
That's military time, 02:53:46.
correct. That-
And does that list the license plate number of the vehicle in the violation?
Yes,
And what license plate number is that, please?
536 MX2 Massachusetts plate.
And does that also tell you, this record also tell you the lane location of the violation?
Yes, and it was lane 3.
Now, in addition to that paper record, did you also retrieve from your records a photograph of the vehicle at that time as it passed through lane number 3 at Toll Plaza number 55?
Yes,
And I'm showing you this, do you recognize that?
yes.
What is that, please?
It's a picture of license plate 536 MX2 on a Nissan Altima,
Passing through at 2?
passing through on June 17th, 2013 at 2:53:46 a.m. At Plaza 55, lane 3.
I'm going to offer this as the next exhibit. No objection, Your Honor.
It matches the next exhibit.
I may, sir, that's the photograph that you just identified, exhibit number 163, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Nothing for Mr. D'Angelo, Your Honor.
You may step down.
We just have one moment. Next witness, thank you.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth approach 1 farm. It should be right up to the right. Yeah. See, a couple benches down.
Right this way, sir. Please follow me. Face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give this court and this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
May I inquire?
May.
Sir, could you state your name for the record,
Juan Farhan,
and then spell your first name, please,
JWAN,
and your last name?
F as in Frank, ARHN,
And sir, where do you live?
West Roxbury,
How long have you lived there?
over 4 or 5 years.
Where were you born?
Syria,
How long have you lived in the United States?
over 14 years.
Have you recently become a citizen of the United States?
Last year,
What do you do for a living, sir?
I do run a liquor store
And where is that liquor store?
in Canton, Mass, off 138.
Is that part of a complex with other stores in it?
Yes, Blue Hill Express.
What is Blue Hill Express?
It's a gas stations, a convenience store.
Say that again, sir.
Gas station with a convenience store?
In 2013, did you work in that facility?
Yes, sir.
Just for the jury, if you could, in general terms, sort of describe the layout.
Overnight shift from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. in the morning.
Not so much what you were doing, but what's the physical presence of the store? What sort of, where are the gas pumps, where is the store, where is it in relation to the
Small
road?
convenience stores, and there's 18 pump outside gas self-service gas stations.
And where are the pumps with regards to the convenience store part?
It's right across from the, you can see them from the, behind the counters where the store is.
How far is that from the highway?
It's a few hundred yards.
And which highway are we talking about?
There's a 95 south and north, and there's also 93.
Okay. And where is it in relation to the Blue Hills?
It's, what do you mean, like?
The actual Blue Hill that you can see from the highway. How far away are you from that actual hill itself?
It's not even like a few hundred yards to on the left side. If you go northbound, going toward Boston, it's right there.
Is there an unusual feature across the street from where the gas station is?
There's this, there's a church out there.
You might approach, Your Honor? I'm going to show you two overhead Google Earth images
Okay.
and ask if you recognize that.
Yeah, this is the gas stations here.
So you can see the Blue Hill Express gas station in
Yeah.
the image?
Yeah, that's the one here. And if you go this way here, you go up 95 south, and you go over the bridge, you go to 93 north.
Okay, so you're looking at this first image.
Yeah.
Can you also take a look at the second image?
Yeah, the second image, it shows you can go, if you take a right after the first traffic light, you go to 95 south and northbound.
Okay.
And if you,
Sorry, can you see the gas station in that image?
yeah, it's right here.
Okay. What is that across the street from it that looks like an oval?
There used to be the horse stop before.
Say that again for the court reporter, please.
I mean, what I see now, these days it's a church right across from it.
Okay, but you referred
Used to be a
that-
horses stop, horses race stop. Yeah, used to be.
All right. May I have these marked as separate exhibits from me, please?
Any objection?
Being offered? No. No objection.
They may be marked as the next exhibits.
and 165.
And may I use the other? Actually, starting with 165, is that the image that you were just looking at, sir?
Yes, sir.
And then, if you could just point out where the gas station is.
This is the one. Yeah. Those are the pump, and this is the building.
Okay. So it's in this general area.
Yeah.
Now show me which of the sort of figures there is the pumps.
Those are the pumps here.
So the whiter block there is the
Yeah.
pumps. And where is the building itself?
Right here. This is the building. That's the liquor. This corner is the gas station, convenience stores.
With reference to sort of where the word Washington Street is, which end is the convenience store on?
It's on Washington, 2740 Washington Street.
So sort of this end where my finger is now?
Yeah.
And then the liquor store on that end?
This is the liquor stores. Here it's a gas station. This is Washington Street, which is called 138 too.
So which direction would you go to get to the highway from there?
You go this direction, southbound. And you go this way, that's 95.
So you gesturing down here?
Yeah. If you go straight, if you go across the bridge, you go to 93 north. But if you go this way here, you go to 95.
Okay. Showing you which been marked number 164. And if you could just point out again where the gas station is in that picture.
It's right here.
So, pointing it, so that small
Right there.
white
Yeah.
square. All right, now I see the internet, the exchange there, cloverleaf, if you will. Where is the cloverleaf in relation to the gas station? So sort of draw your finger from where the gas station is down to the cloverleaf.
It's right here.
Like that.
Yeah.
And that first piece of the cloverleaf, that's the first, sort of be the right if you were heading towards the 138 on the map.
Yeah.
Which direction does that first on-ramp go?
That goes south.
Just draw, if you just could sort of follow it
This
along.
way here. If you
And
go
then where
this
would you take that and where would you go?
you go to 95 south and north. And if you go this way here, you cross the bridge, you go to 93 north.
Could you just keep following your finger there? So
Yeah. If you go this way like this, you gotta go this, and you go to 93 north.
Okay.
And
So
this,
if you just watch my finger, make sure I do this correctly. You go out of the gas station,
Yeah.
this on-ramp goes in this direction,
yeah,
and then this one, cloverleaf's around, it goes this way.
yes.
Okay. Mr. Farn, if you did the second one, if you cloverleafed around and sort of went that way, where would you be heading? Do you know east or west?
You'll be heading to 93 north.
Okay, so if you cloverleaf around, you're heading up to 93 north?
No, if you take a right, you're heading to 138 southbound, so that takes you to 95 north and south, the first exit on the highway. And if you cross the bridge, it takes you to 93 north, which is head you to Boston's.
Okay, very good, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I want to turn your attention to June 17th of 2013, in the overnight hours between the 16th and the 17th. Were you working that night?
Yes, sir.
What was your job that night?
Cashiers?
Was anybody else working with you?
No.
And were you a cashier in the liquor store side or on the convenience store side?
Only convenience stores.
How did you know when someone came in to use the gas pumps there?
Oh, the only way you can know if you're looking outside, if you're watching.
And at about 2 o'clock in the morning, did you have a specific responsibility with regards to the store?
Yes. At
What
2
was that?
o'clock, the system reboots itself. It gives me a chance twice to delay it. If I don't delay it, the system goes down. No one can pump gas outside. No one can purchase anything inside for 10 minutes.
Okay, so what is that, what sort of part of the store is that system? When you say the system goes down, what goes down?
The whole system reboots. So the whole system goes down. You can't purchase nothing. Not even swiping a credit card. You can't do any transactions. It's every Sunday. It's set up every Sunday by 2 o'clock in the morning.
Do the pumps themselves shut off?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does the cash register shut off?
Yes, sir.
How about the video system?
No.
Okay. Can you describe for the jury what kind of a video system you had at Blue Hill Express at that time?
It's a regular type.
Be a bit more specific, sir. What do you mean by a regular type?
Those high definition ones?
And did it have cameras?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what did the cameras hook into?
Looking at, there's a few inside and there's few outside at the pump.
Right, but where do those cameras go? So where do the wires for the cameras go?
It goes upstairs where the office is.
Okay. And as a person who was working that night, did you have access to that room?
No.
Okay. Had you ever had an occasion at that time to work with the video system at all, to take a look at the video system?
You mean like after that or?
Before that. Had you ever looked at the video before that?
Yeah.
Okay. And with regards to the particular cameras, do you remember where the cameras from that system at that time were pointing?
Yeah.
Where did they point?
There's all overs. So which one?
Did you ever see any that pointed at the pumps?
Yes.
Okay. How about the front door of the store?
The front of the stores, no.
And the doorway between the store and the outside?
Yeah.
And how about the counter, obviously, you had one there?
Yeah.
Now, with regards to this particular case, were you asked to watch some videos in this case?
Yes.
And what were those videos of, sir?
It shows me and Mr. Hernandez on the cameras.
Check who the strike's non-responsive.
Motion to strike is allowed.
Sir, I'm going to show you these three CDs. and ask if you've seen these before.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize what those are?
Yeah.
What are those?
So there's 3 cameras. There's one at the pump shows where Mr. Hernandez was parked. There's one inside the stores, and there's one showing him walking to the stores.
Okay, so just with regards to those particular CDs, did you watch those again this morning?
Yes, sir.
And did you recognize what was in them?
Yes, sir.
And did those fairly and accurately depict what you remember from that night, June 16th into June 17th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to move to admit these, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor, if to the extent of what he saw that night.
Objection. Without objection, it may be marked as next exhibit.
Shortly before 2 p.m., did you get a notification from your system that it was about to shut down?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when does that actually occur?
2 o'clock exactly, 2 o'clock a.m.
With regards to the notification, do you have the ability to delay what's happening?
Yes, twice, each one for 5 minutes.
And why would you do that?
If there's still somebody's outside pumping gas, I don't want to shut the light off on them.
And that night at about 2 o'clock, was there somebody outside?
Yes, sir, at number 14th, there was somebody pumping diesel.
Okay. And as that person pumped diesel, did you hit the button to delay it again?
Yes,
Okay. While that happened, did somebody else pull in?
yes, sir.
Could you describe what you remember happening at that point?
A silver Nissan Altima pulled in at number 7th.
Did you yourself see that?
Yes, because I was paying attention to outside, I was looking at number 14. It's right across. You can see it from number 7 and 14, they're too close to each other, so.
Why in particular, though, were you looking out the window?
I was waiting for the guy number 14, if he's done, so I can turn the light off.
At that point in time, do you have other responsibilities within the store as well?
Yeah, closing the shift and closing the whole stores there.
What does that mean?
To get the report to see if we're over and short. The money, how much gas we sold, how much gas we have and all this stuff.
Do you have to count things?
No.
And do an inventory?
All I have to do, count the cigarette and do the lottery ticket.
Had you already finished that work before 2 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
And then once the system has finished shutting down, how long do you have to wait before you can sort of enter the information?
Around 10 minutes.
All right, so when the silver Nissan pulled in, where were you?
Inside the store,
And where were you looking?
outside.
What did you see?
I saw he pulled in.
Did you see them get out of the car at all? Anyone get out of the car?
Yeah, that was Mr. Hernandez.
May the record reflect that the witness has pointed at the defendant, Your Honor? Where did Mr. Hernandez get out of from the car?
From the driver's seat.
And what did he do?
He swiped a card.
I'm sorry,
He swiped his credit card
where did he swipe his credit card?
at number 7.
In the pump?
Yeah.
And did you see him begin to do something at that time?
No. He started pumping gas, so.
Who put the nozzle in the car?
I think that was him, if I'm not mistaken.
Was there anybody else outside the car at that point?
No, I don't want to pay attention.
With regards to your responsibilities at that point in time, what did you do?
While he was pumping the gas, if you look, you can tell from inside, if you look, he's already done pumping gas, so I was going outside and I saw him, he was walking in. He's like 20 feet far away from me. So I asked him to put the nozzle back and he said, let me in, he wants to buy something and leave.
Where are you at this point?
In the front doors,
And where is the defendant?
coming. He's in like between the pumps and the convenience stores in the middle. He
And-
walking toward me.
And as he's coming towards you, was the door open or closed?
Opened.
And what happened at that point?
I hold the door for him and let him in.
Do you remember if anybody was out of the car at that point besides him?
No, I wasn't paying attention outside them.
Okay. And where did the defendant go at that point?
He went to buy gums and he asked me for Black and Mild cigars. That's it.
How many cigars?
One?
And at that point in time, were you able to ring that transaction up?
No,
Why not?
because the system was down already.
Did you tell them that they couldn't buy anything?
Yes, he tried to ask me to swipe his card. I say you can't do it, so he brought the cash.
And who is he in that?
Then Mr. Hernandez, somebody else walked in inside.
Okay, did you know that other person at all?
No.
How was Mr. Hernandez behaving?
Normal?
And how was the other individual behaving?
Normal too?
Did you have a conversation with both of them?
No, nothing.
Okay. Did you ever speak to the second individual who came into the convenience store?
Yeah, he asked me for the cigars. That's what he asked me, nothing else.
Okay. And who paid?
Both of them, I think they share, there was a couple of dollars only involved in it, so.
The items that they had purchased, the gum and the cigar, how much would they normally have cost?
The gum is 99 cents and the Black and Mild is 129.
Okay. And did they give you money for those?
Yes, sir.
How much money?
$2.
Was there any difficulty in your mind with taking less than what you knew it
No.
would cost?
No,
Okay. How long were they in the store?
like a minute and so.
Okay. And did you see where they went?
We went back to the car.
Okay. And did you see the car leave?
Yes,
Which way did it go?
southbound.
And once it went southbound, what is it heading for?
It's either 95 north-south or 93 north. I can see it from the store, so.
So you saw that it headed towards the Cloverleaf, but you didn't see it beyond that point?
Yeah, you can see it, so.
With regards to the entire time that you observed Mr. Hernandez and the other individual, did you make note of any particular strange behavior or any difficulties with them?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
What was the demeanor of the two individuals during the time that you observed them?
They're getting gas and they bought gum and cigars and left, nothing else.
Did you make any note of any particular oddities or strangeness?
Objection, asked and answered.
No, sir.
Objection is sustained, and ask you not to ask leading questions. That question and answer or audit stricken should be disregarded by you.
Now, a few days later, on 6/24/13, at about 9:30 p.m., were you back in the store?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall a state police officer coming at that time?
Yeah, they were there, yeah.
And where in the store did they go?
They went upstairs to get the video camera from the owners.
Did you go there as well?
No, I didn't go upstairs. I was downstairs.
Okay. Were you familiar with the system's time at that time?
Yes.
Okay. And in the time that you've reviewed, on the videos you've reviewed, do you know whether the time shown is accurate or not?
Yes.
How do you know that?
Because of that 2 o'clock every Sunday night, which is Monday morning, it goes off. You know how the system reboots?
Oh, I understand. So if you could just describe for the jury, what are you comparing there? When you say the time was accurate on the video, what events do you know from what happened that you're comparing? What are the things that
I was preparing to close down and I was closing the shift and stuff, and that system about to get reboot, so that's why I was paying attention even outside, and I know that's the time because the computer asked me twice to delay it, so by 2:10 was the approximately goes down.
And that matches what you've watched on the video?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm just going to ask to play these at this time.
Okay, we've heard.
You may.
Sir, with regards to the three videos that have been marked, 166, 167, and 168, on that night in question, did you see all of the things that are in those videos that you viewed this morning?
You mean at the time?
Yes.
No, not all of it.
Could you be specific as to which things that you didn't see that you watched in the video?
Don't,
Objection sustained.
I think I wasn't paying attention.
Just a moment.
Sir, turning your attention to that particular night, you said that the defendant purchased bubble gum. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
What kind was it?
Those bubblicious gums?
When that was entered into the system, did you do the entry of that item later on?
Yes, after the system went back on, I did it myself.
How did you do that?
I just scanned it. There was one left on the counter, so I scanned it, and I scanned the black mile, and I cashed it out.
Okay. Do you remember the particular flavor or kind of bubble gum it was? Is there anything that would refresh your recollection?
It was those blue package bubblicious gum. That's the only thing I remember.
May I approach you? I'm going to ask you to take a look at this.
Yes.
Directing your attention to the left-hand column there, and ask if that refreshes your recollection with regards to the type of gum.
Yes, sir.
And what type of gum was it?
Cotton, bubbly cottons. Whatever they come.
I don't believe the witness testified that his recollection was exhaustive. He
Overall.
testified blue bubblicious gum.
Overall.
So looking at the left-hand column, sir, is there an entry there for the type of gum?
In here, yes.
And what does it say?
Bubbly, yum.
And then...
I'm going to strike that. That document is not an exhibit in this case, and he's not using it to refresh his recollection. You've asked him to read from it. Move on, please.
Okay.
He's answered the question. Move on.
Do you recognize what this document is?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to move on. He's not using it to refresh his recollection.
I understand. I'm going to try and lay the foundation that it should be admissible.
You may.
Do you recognize what that document is, sir?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
It's a gum and a black and mild and his credit card.
No, not the things in it, sir.
I'm
What
going to
is the
strike that
document?
answer. It's non-responsive.
What is the document itself?
About the gum?
No. May I approach again now?
May, I'm going to strike the last answer is non-responsive.
If you could just take a look at that.
Okay, which one here?
Not anywhere in particular on the document, but do you recognize the whole document?
Yes.
Okay, what is it?
The
What is
purchase.
the whole document?
The whole document is two separate ones.
Okay, it represents two separate documents.
Yes.
Okay, the one on the left, what is that?
The one left, that's an inside. It shows a gum and a black and mild.
Okay, not what it shows, but what is the document itself?
It's a purchasing of gum, bubble gums, and purchasing of black and mild.
How does that document get created?
When you scan it to the system, it gets created.
Do you know what it's called, what that document is called?
Yeah, receipt.
Okay, and the one on the right, what is that?
That's outside transaction, which is called receipt too.
Okay, and those particular two columns would be two documents, is that fair to
Yes.
say? Do you recognize those two particular documents?
Yes, sir.
What are they?
Receipt.
Which kind of receipt? What receipt is it?
Could you be more specific on what you mean by
Maybe I
document?
can help you. Do you know what those particular receipts are?
Yeah.
Okay, and just describe in general what those receipts are.
The receipt, that's a proof of the purchase.
Which purchases?
Purchase of the gum and black and mild, and purchase of the gas outside.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to the reading from the document, not in evidence. I think the question was answered at receipt.
Objection sustained.
With specifics to the particular time and location, do you know what time and location those two documents refer to?
Yes.
Okay, and could you tell the jury what that is?
The gas pump was around 2:09 a.m. in the morning,
What date?
June 17, 2013.
Okay, with reference to everything we've been talking about, do you know what those two documents are?
Yes.
What are they?
Like I said, receipt, I mean,
Well, you say the receipt, but describe which receipt you mean.
The customer's receipt,
Which customer?
Mr. Hernandez.
Okay? And with regards to when that document was created, when was that document created?
The gas pump was done when he put the nozzle back, and the other one I had to do it after the system back on.
Okay? And do you recognize those two particular receipts?
Yes,
Okay? And do you know whether or not that particular copy that you have in front is an accurate copy of the actual receipts from that night?
yes.
Okay, I'm going to move to make it.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, Marcus, next exhibit.
May I use the overhead, Judge? Thank you. Sir, can you see that on the screen next to you there?
Yes,
And can you see the actual details of the magnification I have it?
yes,
With reference to this particular time here,
yeah.
it says 2:20:45 a.m. Was the defendant present at the store still at that time?
No,
How much time had passed since he left?
around 10 minutes.
And why was that?
Why was
done
that?
after he left?
Because the system was down, so I could not ring it in, and the reason I have to do it, I don't want the owner thinks I'm taking the money to my pocket.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Kawan. You described a transaction, Mr. Hernandez coming and purchasing gas at your store. Is that right?
Yes, he swiped his card outside.
And when Mr. Hernandez purchased gas, he used his credit card. You said
Yes, sir.
He swiped his own credit card.
Yeah,
And that credit card says Aaron Hernandez.
yeah,
So Mr. Hernandez didn't use someone else's credit card to buy gas.
no,
And when Mr. Hernandez walked to the store, Mr. Hernandez didn't have his hood up, did he?
no,
Mr. Hernandez didn't try to hide his identity in any way, did he?
no, it was normal.
And you mentioned in direct examination Mr. Hernandez was normal. Mr. Hernandez didn't give you any trouble that night, did he?
No,
Mr. Hernandez pumped gas.
yes,
He walked into the store.
yeah,
He had a transaction with you. He bought bubble gum.
yeah,
He bought a cigar.
yes,
Was in the store for about a minute.
yeah, maybe so, yeah,
Left.
yes,
Returned the nozzle to its proper position.
yes,
Paid for his gas via credit card.
yes,
And left your store.
yes.
Thank you, sir.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
All right, call Sergeant Paul Baker, please.
Right this way, sir. Please follow me. Face the clerk and raise your right hand.
Sir, do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to give to this court and this jury will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
I do.
Have a seat, sir.
Thank you.
May I, Your Honor? Good morning, sir.
Morning.
State your full name.
My name is Paul Baker,
Spell your last name, please.
B-A-K-E-R.
Do you work?
I do.
Where do you work?
Currently assigned to the District Attorney's Office through the State Police.
And how long have you worked for the state police?
About 19 years.
And what is your current rank?
Sergeant.
And when you say you're currently assigned to the District Attorney's Office, what unit is that?
The Homicide Unit.
And how long have you been assigned to the District Attorney's Office?
Over 8 years, 8.5 years.
And just directing your attention, well, just generally describe your duties as a member of that homicide unit.
Just a sergeant. I run, I have 6 guys assigned to me. Administrative duties, regular duties, such as responding to homicides, approving reports, items like that.
I'd like to direct your attention to June 17th of 2013. Were you working on that date?
I was.
And had you been working the last several days?
I had.
And sometime, were you working on particular cases the days preceding the 17th?
I did. There was a hit-and-run manslaughter case, and there was also a murder-suicide that we had worked.
Now, when you had finally finished work on those days, do you recall that being sometime in the evening hours of Monday, June 17th?
Yes.
And did you receive a phone call from somebody?
I did.
And when you did, well, who called you?
Captain Joe Dorenzo from the North Attleboro Police Department.
And are you familiar with Captain Dorenzo prior to that date?
Yes.
As a result of that phone conversation, did you do something?
I did.
And what did you do?
I immediately called Crime Scene Services, and I started to call the members assigned to my unit.
Okay. And at that time, when you say calling members of your unit, did you call more than just the 6 that you supervise?
Yes.
Okay. And how many, if you recall, did you call?
I called everyone, the whole unit.
Okay. And after making those phone calls, did you do anything before you went somewhere?
I did.
What did you do?
I changed up, and then I responded to John Deach Boulevard in North Attleboro.
And do you recall approximately what time that you arrived John Deach Boulevard?
Probably 5:45 was 5:45. I got the call. I probably didn't get there till probably 6:45 or so.
Okay.
Around that time frame.
And when you arrived, excuse me, when you arrived, just describe what you saw.
There was an officer just outside the area where you could tell they had processed gravel and reclaimed stone and items like that. He checked me in. I walked in. There were several tarps, and there was a body of a young man, maybe 100 yards in or so.
Okay. And when you arrived at approximately with some of those items?
Physically, no, but we started to process what we were going to do with the information we received from those items.
Okay, and what were the items that you were working on?
It was a wallet, a set of keys to a rental vehicle, and a cell phone.
Okay. And with regard to, say, the wallet, what action was taken at that time relating to the wallet?
The wallet was inventoried, and an ID was found inside that appeared to match the decedent, and we retrieved an address off that license of 10 Facein Street.
And as a result of that, what action was taken with regard to then this address at 10 Facein Street?
2 officers were assigned to actually go up to Facein Street, find out if in fact it was the decedent, and if it was, to make a death notification, and then to conduct an interview.
Okay. Who were the officers that were assigned to that task?
Trooper Johnson and Trooper Liberty.
Okay. And with regard to these keys, just generally, what type of keys were they?
It appeared to be Chevy keys with an alarm on it, and then a tag. And the information on the tag, we're trying to determine, it appeared to be a rental car, which rental agency it was, what the actual vehicle was, the plate number, who had rented the vehicle, and where that vehicle physically was, and what connection it had to Mr. Lloyd.
Were there certain officers assigned to that task?
Yes.
And who was that?
Trooper Benson, Trooper Shervin, and Detective Elliott.
Okay. And with regard to the cell phone, was there certain action taken with regard to that item?
Yes, Trooper Bates took possession of that. He was bringing it back to North Attleboro Police to meet up with Trooper Josie. Both those officers are specially trained in recovering data from a cell phone.
Okay.
So,
and as a result of, how long did you remain at the station that night?
I don't think we cleared until 4 a.m. or so.
Okay. And during the course of that time, was additional information, were you dealing with additional information in the course of the investigation?
Yes.
And at some point, do you know whether any officers were dispatched to a home in North Attleboro?
Yes.
And what home were they dispatched to?
22 Ronald C. Meyer.
And do you know who was dispatched to that location?
It was Detective Riggi and Trooper Shervin.
Okay. Now, at some point during the course of that evening, did you hear the name Aaron Hernandez?
I did.
And approximately at what time did you first hear that?
Probably 9:30, close to 10,
Okay.
around that time frame.
And you indicated the first involvement in this case came as a result of a phone call at what time?
Could you repeat that?
Yes, sir. You indicated earlier that you became involved in this matter, this investigation, as a result of a phone call from Captain Dorenzo?
Yes.
And what time was that?
Probably 5:45 or so.
Okay. So how many people were now involved between 5:45 to 9:30 before you had ever heard the name Aaron Hernandez?
Oh, over 30.
Okay. And during during the course of now these number of hours that did you remain at the station?
I did.
And at some time around 11:15 to 11:30, did you see somebody in the station?
I did.
And did you recognize that person?
I did not at the time.
Okay. Who did you see at the station?
Mr. Hernandez.
And Mr. Hernandez, did you see him in the courtrroom?
I do.
If you just point him out and describe what he's wearing, please.
He's wearing a charcoal blazer and blue tie, white shirt.
Your Honor, if the record reflect the witness describing the defendant. Now, when did you first see him?
I saw him, he was in a room
Okay.
on the second floor of the police station.
And do you know what he was doing in the room?
He was waiting for someone.
And did you see him doing anything in that room?
I saw him get on his phone, appear to text, plug his phone in.
Okay. And how were you able to see that?
There's a monitoring system.
And do you know if that system was being recorded?
It was not.
And how long did you see him in that room? Or how long did he remain in that room, if you know?
Probably about an hour.
And then do you know what he did from there?
He left the room.
And did anyone attempt to stop him in any way?
Not to my knowledge.
And do you know where he went?
He went outside the building.
And did you see him after that?
I did. At one point, I went downstairs into the dispatch center. I was either looking for information or someone, and I observed another monitor, and Mr. Hernandez was outside speaking to someone.
Okay. And when you say you went to the dispatch center, are there certain displays, video displays in the dispatch center?
Yes.
And do you know whether there's other locations outside of the one you described in the room of video of surveillance cameras throughout the department?
Yes, sir.
And when you said you saw him outside, where was that area?
Out by the parking lot, front parking lot.
Okay. Did you see him come into the building after that?
I personally did not know.
Okay. Do you know, did you see him again that evening?
I did not know.
You indicated you cleared sometime around 4 a.m.?
Yes.
Did you return at some point later that morning to the station?
Yes, 9 a.m.
And when you returned, were you continuing the investigation into the death of this young man?
Yes.
And during the course of that day, what were you working on?
There was a search warrant, the actual search warrant written for 22 Ronald C. Myers.
Okay. And at some point in the course of the evening hours, approximately 6:30, 6:45, was a search warrant authorized?
Yes.
And as a result of that search warrant being authorized, did you do something?
I did.
What did you do?
I took copies of the actual search warrant, and I went over to 22 Ronald C. Myers.
And did anyone else accompany you to that location?
Yes.
And approximately how many other people?
Probably 10 or 11.
And what happened when, what time, at some point, did you execute that search warrant?
7 o'clock.
Okay. And when you say 7 o'clock, do you remember that being the time?
Thereabouts, yes.
Okay. And just, if you would describe for the jury, how did you execute the search warrant?
I approached the front door. I knocked on the door. I think I even rang the doorbell. The woman came to the front door. I explained who I was. I handed both the search warrants to the young woman, and I explained that we have a search warrant for your residence. All the particulars are enclosed in the search warrant. We'll try to be as minimally intrusive as we possibly can, and we'll be out of here as quickly as we can. If you go anywhere within the house, please advise an officer.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you go into the home?
I did, yes.
And other officers, did they accompany you?
Yes.
Now, when you came into the home, did you see anybody else?
I did.
And who else did you see?
I saw Mr. Hernandez and a baby.
Okay. And where was Mr. Hernandez, the defendant?
He was seated on the, well, I guess seated or leaning up against the back of a couch.
And did you have, did you announce your purpose to him?
I did not.
Okay. And did you see what, if anything, he did at the time that you then entered?
I believe he took the actual search warrants from the female.
Okay. At some point, did you see him go somewhere in the home?
I did, yes.
And where did he go?
He went over to play with the baby or grab the baby.
Okay. And at any time, did you see him on the couch?
Yes.
And just describe what was he doing on the couch?
Just laying on the couch, appeared to be watching TV, playing with the baby.
Now, how long were you present in the home for the execution of that search warrant?
I was probably there for about an hour.
And what was the, what items were being searched for?
There were two items. One was a video surveillance system for the house, and the second was for a phone with the phone number of 203-606-8969.
Okay. And with regard to the surveillance materials, was anything recovered or taken from the home?
Yes, an actual surveillance system.
Okay. And do you know who took that?
Computer crimes unit for the state police.
Okay. And what about the cell phone with the number that you just described?
That was not recovered at the house.
Okay. And as a result of that search, and you've indicated, how long did that search go on for, to your knowledge?
I was there for an hour. When the actual surveillance system left with the computer crimes, they have a mobile crime lab. I went outside with the computer crimes forensic guys.
Okay. And when you went outside, where specifically did you go?
They have a mobile lab, like a truck.
And when you say mobile lab, did you go inside?
Yes, I did.
And just describe, what is the inside, what type of equipment do they have inside?
All sorts of electronic equipment, TVs, monitors, all sorts of equipment.
And at that time, did you see them doing something with the item they had recovered from the home?
I did.
And what did they do?
They were plugging it in.
And at some point, were you able to see anything on a screen?
I did.
And just tell us what you could see.
It was actually video surveillance of the residence, interior and exterior.
And as a result of seeing that, how long did you actually see something on the screen?
I only watched it for a couple minutes, and then I started making phone calls.
Okay. And as a result of that, did you learn that there was at least some recordings of information from the surveillance?
Yes.
Now, do you know where that item then went from there?
I believe it stayed with the...
Objection is sustained.
Okay. Did you see, when you, at some point, did you leave that mobile lab?
I did.
And who had custody of the item when you left?
Computer crimes.
Okay. Now, did you continue to be involved in this investigation?
I did.
And directing your attention to June 20th, were you working on the case?
I was.
And at some point, as a result of a phone contact, did you go somewhere?
I did.
Where did you go?
365 East Washington Street in North Attleboro, which is the Enterprise Rent-A-Car agency.
And do you recall who, what caused you to go there, just in terms of, did you have a phone contact with somebody?
I did. It was Detective Elliott.
Okay. And when you went to that location, was that business open or closed?
It was closed.
And did you meet anybody when you arrived?
I did.
Who did you meet?
Lieutenant King, Chief Riley, Captain Dorenzo, Detective Elliott.
Okay, and where did you meet?
Right in the parking lot, actually.
Okay. And just tell me about the, how did you travel there?
In a state police unmarked cruiser.
Okay. Did you observe other vehicles of these other individuals there?
I did.
And were they marked or unmarked?
All unmarked. None of them appear to be police cruisers.
Okay. Was there a reason that folks had traveled in unmarked vehicles?
Yes.
And what was that?
Because at that point in time, the investigation had turned into a media frenzy, and we didn't want to have the media follow us over to an area where we might be recovering evidence.
Were there any other efforts made to ensure that your purpose in going to Enterprise was not known publicly?
Yes, to keep the investigation close and to not let everything out to the press. We didn't want to have this information out that we're actually at Enterprise recovering evidence. We didn't put on any state police coats, jackets, nothing that said state police or North Attleboro police.
When you arrived at Enterprise, was there a particular focus, an area that you were interested in?
Yes.
And what was that?
It was the actual dumpster.
Okay. Do you recall whether where that dumpster was first, where you first observed it?
It was to the rear of the property, but we moved it back out of sight of Route 1.
And what was the, in terms of the movement of it, did that obstruct a view from Route 1?
Yes, if you were on Route 1 and you were driving by, you couldn't see the dumpster.
Okay. And at that time, was there, just tell us what you did.
I put on gloves, I went into a dumpster, and I started to remove items from the dumpster hand them out. They were placed in the back of the bed of my pickup truck. They were being photographed as they were being taken out. And when I came across a particular item that we were looking for, that was also photographed.
So at some point, did you actually get into the dumpster?
I did, yes.
Did you know what you were looking for?
Yes.
And what were you looking for?
It was a colorful child's drawing that was to contain inside of it, wrapped up in it, was going to be a shell casing, a bullet, and some kind of blue item.
And was there any other, some type of container that you were looking for as well?
And yes, another a vitamin water.
And were you able to locate those items in this dumpster?
Yes.
And you indicated that you were, prior to getting in, did you put on some gloves?
I did.
And when you recovered these items, what did you do with them?
Handed them out. They went into the back of the pickup truck. First, when I picked it up, I opened it up. Now you could see a shell casing and what appeared to be blue bubble gum. And then it was placed in the back of the pickup truck, and it was photographed.
And
along with the vitamin water also.
okay. And do you know who was photographing at that time?
Detective Elliott.
And there's a crime scene service unit that you work with?
Yes.
Was there a reason why Detective Elliott was taking the pictures at that time?
Yes.
And what was that?
Several reasons. We didn't know how long it was going to take for crime scene to actually get to us because they were out straight with all the items that we had required them to do.
Okay. Was some effort made to call crime scene services?
Yes.
And in terms of, do you know how long ultimately, at some point did they arrive?
They did.
And how long before they arrived?
It was about a half an hour or so.
Okay. So prior to that, were these photos taken?
Yes.
And at some point after the items were recovered and photographed, did crime scene arrive?
Yes, they did.
Were they turned over at that time?
Yes.
And who took custody of them?
Trooper Conroy from Ballistics took the actual shell casing. Trooper Mackin actually photographed them, but I do not believe he took the photo or the bubble gum.
Okay. And at some point, did yourself and others clear from that scene?
We did.
And do you know whether any observers had actually gathered or learned about this during the time you were there?
To my knowledge, they did not.
I don't know if I could approach. I'm just going to show you this photograph and ask you if you recognize what's depicted in this.
I do.
And what does that depict?
That's me with the child's drawing.
Any objection?
No objection, sir.
Next exhibit.
Thank you. Thank you, publish this, Your Honor. I'm just going to place 171 now on the board. Recognize that photo I just showed you, sir.
Yes.
Does that show the drawing that you've described?
Yes,
And are you included in that picture?
I am.
So I'm also going to show you what was previously marked 122A. You recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
That's the Enterprise rent-a-car.
And just in terms of your testimony about where you went at this location, does that area or the approximate area shown here?
Yes, you can see someone with a blue shirt just on the far corner of the picture.
Can you point, so I can point that out to the jury?
Right here.
This
Yep.
individual?
Yes,
Okay.
that's where we were.
Okay. To the right of this?
Yes.
That area. Now, there's a, just describe this area in the back.
It's a canopy, I believe that's like a clean-out area for when they return rental cars.
And this vehicle here, was that vehicle there at the time that you arrived?
Yes, that's not us.
What kind of vehicle were you traveling in?
I had a Ford pickup.
And you've indicated that's obviously different than this vehicle.
Yes, correct.
So I'm going to show you what was marked 122B. You recognize that picture?
I do.
What do you recognize that to be?
That is the dumpster.
Now, that dumpster, is that the one that you went into?
Yes.
And, sir, just, have you ever had to seek out evidence by going into a dumpster or into trash collection?
Yes.
Is that an accepted practice in your business?
Yes.
You make efforts to put on gloves when you attempt to retrieve items from the trash?
Yes.
Are there any other precautions that you will take when attempting to recover them from the trash to avoid any further destruction?
Gloves are pretty much.
Oh, now, just with regard to 122B, is that the location where you originally saw it? Or was that the moved location?
No, I believe we had moved it to this location. I believe it was out more toward the front of that, the pickup truck, the vehicle that's under the canopy.
So what was previously marked 122C, you recognize that as from that dumpster?
Yes.
Is that the approximate amount of material that you found in the dumpster when you went in to search for these items?
Yes.
122D, sir, do you recognize the items?
I do.
And what do you recognize here?
That's the vitamin water to the left, the child's drawing, the shell casing, and what appears to be gum.
And was that the condition? Is there anything about the picture here that was different than how you observed or how you recovered it from that dumpster?
Yes.
Okay, what's different?
The actual paper was folded up around the shell casing and the bubble gum.
And the condition changed, who changed that?
I did.
And for what purpose did you change that?
I opened it up to see if there was actually shell casing and bubble gum contained within.
And after confirming there was, did you do anything else to change the condition of that item?
I did not.
And where were these items placed?
In the back of the pickup truck.
I could have a moment, Ronald. Nothing further.
Let's have just a moment, Your Honor, to find the exhibit.
Good morning, Sergeant Baker.
Good morning.
Now, you work for the state police, right?
I do.
And you told us that you're assigned to the district attorney's office.
I am.
That's here in Bristol County.
Yes.
And how long have you been assigned to the District Attorney's Office?
8.5 years.
Okay. And it's the same, that's the same District Attorney's Office that's prosecuting my client, Mr. Hernandez, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you work with First Assistant District Attorney McCauley and the other ADAs in that office, right?
I do.
Okay. Is it fair to say then, sir, that you're part of the prosecution team in this case?
I wouldn't say I'm part of the prosecution team. I'm part of the law enforcement team.
Part of the law enforcement team that's assisting the prosecution in this case. Is that more accurate?
I would say they're prosecuting the case. We just give them the evidence.
But you work with them, right?
I do work with them, yes.
Did you meet with them prior to testifying here today?
I did.
About how many times have you met with either Mr. McCauley or any of the other prosecutors in this case from between June 17th, 2013 and today, sir?
Countless.
Countless times?
Correct.
On this case, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, you told us you responded to the scene on June 17th at around 6:30 p.m., right?
Yes.
Okay. And you were there about 2 hours?
Thereabouts, yes.
Okay. And you recall testifying that, remember Mr. McCauley asked you who else responded when you were there?
Yes.
Okay. And at one point, did you mention to him that the medical examiner responded? Yes or no, sir?
Yes, at some point they did, yes.
Okay. You told Mr. McCauley the medical examiner responded?
Yes.
That wasn't while you were there, was it, sir?
No, it was not.
Now, you told us that later that night, June 17th, into the early morning of June 18th, you saw Aaron Hernandez at the North Attleboro Police Station, right?
I did.
Okay. And you told us that there was video surveillance of him while he was in an interview room, right?
Overall. Yes.
Okay. And so you and other officers were able to observe what he was doing in there, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you said at some point you went to the dispatch center. That's on the first floor?
Yes.
And that's a room that's got lots of monitors with lots of cameras in it?
Yes.
Okay. And why'd you go to the dispatch center?
I either went to get somebody or retrieve an item from
So
someone.
you just happened in there at the time when Mr. Hernandez was observed on one of those surveillance video screens outside in the parking lot? Is that your testimony, Sergeant?
Yes.
And when you happened in there, you saw Mr. Hernandez in the parking lot on one of those video screens, right?
I did.
And were you there when, was Detective Elliott in there with you at that time? In the dispatch center?
I don't believe he was.
Well, was anybody panning the camera to Mr. Hernandez or zooming in on him to see what exactly he was doing out there?
I couldn't tell you. I can just tell you what I saw on the actual video screen.
Okay. Did you see a zoom in on him and a close-up of him, or was it the entire parking lot with him kind of somewhere out there?
I can't say for sure whether it was zoomed in or not, or if that's a regular camera angle, but I could see it was two persons, one of them being Mr. Hernandez, speaking, or appeared to be speaking.
Okay. And you can't tell us whether or not it was zoomed in on their conversation?
I can't. I was only there for 2 minutes.
Okay. And you told us that you then, later on, June 18th, you did some other work in connection with this case, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you told us that there were 2 search warrants obtained on Tuesday, June 18th, one for Mr. Hernandez's cell phone, right?
Correct.
And the other for the home surveillance system in his home.
Correct.
Okay. And you went there with those two warrants in your hand around 7 o'clock that evening of Tuesday, June 18th, to execute them, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you told us that there were approximately 10 or 11 other officers with you, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to take a morning recess at this time. Please keep your mind suspended. Don't discuss the case among yourselves or with anyone else.
But all rise, the jury.